Hello family, this is African Esquire and I'm here with a new video. Excuse me, I'm kind of everywhere right now. I'm actually about to go on a trip very soon, but I wanted to hurry up and do this recording before I left, so I'm going to be a little all over the place, but I'm going to try to do this video very quickly. I wanted to do this video before I left because I felt like this is something that was very important that's not being reported by the mainstream news. In fact, I look at the news all the time as far as like when I'm at the gym. I see the screens. I don't see anything about this thing that's going on. You look at the internet blog sites, no one's really reporting this. So if you haven't known, Haiti has been engulfed inside of a protest basically, and the protest really started with concerns about corruption, about the president's administration, but really it's starting to broaden its range and broaden its target, and not just target the government but for being corrupt, but actually call them out for specific offenses. And one of the offenses that they're calling them out for is taking aid from certain countries and not giving that aid to the people. So the premise of this video is going to be why, for me, the idea of aid in itself, it needs to be completely completely walked away from when it comes to people who are actually talking about African liberation, people who are talking about independent self-determination. And really, I really think that all African countries, all African islands, all where African people live, we should really have a moratorium on all forms of aid from all foreign governments. So let's talk about what's going on in Haiti. So I'm reading from an article on NBC.com, and the title of the article is Haiti Anti-Corruption Protests Spark Clashes and 6 People Are Dead. Now, this is an interesting article to me because this is one written by NBC, and if you don't know, NBC is a huge corporation in the United States, and their way of reporting, I think, is very interesting. So they say that 6 people were killed and at least 5 others were wounded Sunday during demonstrations across Haiti protesting allegations of embezzlement from a Venezuelan program that provided the country with subsidized oil, police said. President Jovenel Moise called for a dialogue with opposition groups that are seeking his resignation for failing to investigate the corruption. Thousands of Haitians marched Sunday to the National Palace in the capital, calling for a probe into the spreading of $3.8 billion that Haiti received as a part of the regional petrocarb program. Clashes with police erupted after protesters blocked streets and set fires to set fires to tires. A Haitian Senate investigation has alleged that the embezzlement by the 14 former officials in the President Michel Martelly's administration, but no one has been charged. There were reports of clashes and smaller protests across the country. Now, why do I want to start off with this article? So, I'm always talking about on this channel, we have to look out for the mainstream news organizations and how they report facts, because we have to understand that the mainstream news is a part of the establishment. Although you hear them talking about all these things about journalists are supposed to be independent, they're supposed to be calling out the abuses of tyranny, we know that that's not true. Oftentimes, they'll report things in such ways that will be favorable to the establishment, favorable to ultimately to white supremacy, because that is what the establishment is. So to truly get the whole story of what has been going on as far as Haiti, you have to not just look at what's being reported now that is linked to a Venezuela Venezuela aid, but you also have to look at what's been going on before. And if you remember, the protests really started over the summer, and it wasn't just about Venezuela. It was really also about the United States. And if you know anything about the aid given from the United States to Haiti, you know that the United States has been the main arbitrator of giving out foreign aid, but we also know that the aid has been given out in such a way that the money does not reach the people. Instead, the money is given to corporations, and these corporations, who are supposed to be charitable, go into these countries like Haiti, and Haiti's been one of the worst victims of this type of policy. They go into these countries and they say that they're building things for the people, but really they're engaging in things that are actually illegal conduct. So things such as land grabs, taking the land of the people and actually using it for private use and not using it for public use, building things that have nothing to do with the actual Haitian population, building parks that have nothing to do with the fact that there was an earthquake, but really you're going to use those parks as a means of recreation for tourists. So these are the things that happen with these so-called aid organizations. Now, when you look back at what the news was actually saying whenever the protests actually start, a lot of people attributed the protests that started in the summer to the from the West giving money to Haiti that actually was not meant to go to Haiti. It was actually meant to go to private interests. So I'm reading from an article. This is on RT.com, and it's dated July 2018. The title of the article is "Failed by the West. Haiti Violence Puts Spotlight on Years of Aid Abuse." So this is just a part of the article. It says, when the earthquake hit, talking about the earthquake, I think it was in 2007, I believe. I'm sorry, 2010. When the earthquake hit, Haiti was also the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and the government was ill-equipped to deal with the cleanup operation. 1 year after the quake, only 5% of rubber had been cleared and only 15% of required housing had been built. 8 years on, over 2 million Haitians are still dependent on humanitarian aid. And keep in mind that word for what I'm about to say, which is dependent. Remember, dependence is ultimately the goal of aid. It's not self-reliance. It's not independence. It's actually dependence. So it says millions of dollars in foreign aid largely bypassed the Haitian government, but money still found its way into the hands of the local elite. The part that did not fill the coffers of the NGOs, that is. Almost 90% of foreign funding was dispersed through United Nations agencies, private contractors, and foreign civilian and military agencies. Even Haitian singer Wyclef Jean, who toured the world drumming up support for the relief, has been criminally investigated for the actions of his charity, Yele. The charity went out of business in 2012 and reportedly spent over half of the $16 million in donations it received on staff, salaries, gifts to the John family, and travel expenses such as flying actress Lindsay Lohan to a fundraiser event in Chicago. So going on, it says foreign aid has also supplanted the state as the biggest provider of services for Haitians, creating a culture of dependence. The U.S. Institute of Peace once described Haiti as Republic of NGOs and warned that if the government does not step up to better take care of its own citizens, the world's first black republic will continue to lurch from one crisis to another. Now here we go with the Clintons. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, their Clinton Foundation made grand overtures in the aftermath of the 2010 earthquake, with Mr. Clinton being appointed as the UN Special Envoy to Haiti and the co-chairman of the Interim Haiti Recovery Commission, along with Prime Minister John Max Bellrive. Despite the fact that the Clinton Foundation itself was only responsible for raising $30 million in recovery funds, critics in Haiti and the U.S. have accused the Clintons of using the disaster to peddle influence at the expense of poverty-stricken Haitians, and public anger against America's first family runs high in Haiti and among the diaspora. So one example, the Clintons had created a park. It was called Coal Industrial Park. It is a project that is the focus of a lot of anger with the Clintons. Working with Hillary Clinton's State Department, the foundation arranged a deal with the Haitian government to build a $3 million factory complex in 2012 that would be supposedly provide jobs. And jobs, that's another key word to always understand. When people are saying we're going to provide jobs, we're going to provide jobs, that's a word that's used to try to mask things as though you're doing something for the country. But really what they're saying is they're building enterprise. They're building companies. They're building something to benefit foreign governments. They're not building it to benefit the country. Otherwise, it would be owned by Haitians who actually were going to employ their own people, not by outside foreign entities. To date, the factory has created less than 10,000 jobs, and it said it would have created 100,000 jobs. And produces clothes mostly for Sally A Trading Co., the Korean Textile Corporation, and Clinton Foundation donor. Factory bosses, as recently as 2014, refused to aid the government in raising minimum wage. Now, we'll try to sum this up very briefly. What do we know about foreign aid? Foreign aid is not something that's built to actually help the people to become independent. It's only built to create a relationship where you're always asking for aid. You've never seen a country, and go ahead and look throughout the books, you've never seen a country that has has grown its industries, gotten to being one of the top countries based on foreign aid. They always do it based on their own industries, based on building their own infrastructure. However, for some reason, African leaders, and that being in Haiti or also throughout Africa or wherever we are in the diaspora, we have been taught to think that we can get aid and that aid can be a means of independence. But aid is never going to be a means of independence. We have to understand this very clearly. And again, we have to understand what the people are protesting is that aid has been so used in Haiti to gain control of that country, to start in. The thing that I can't stand about capitalists is you see these people who are horribly starving, who are in desperate need of something, and you would run in and take advantage of them. Instead of not even the people who are doing all right, you go to the worst people in a circumstance, the people who are doing the worst, and you see that as a chance and an opportunity to get a paycheck. You don't see it as something that moves you morally, and that's why we have to be very very cognizant when it comes to capitalism with our people, because these people have no heart. These people have no sentiment for the people. They only have sentiment for their own pockets and for themselves. But they seen Haiti, and after the earthquake, after all Haiti has been through the Clinton administration, through the Bush administration, Haiti, if you research the history, has been taken through horrible regime changes from the United States, also instigating, of course. And all of this has been done to actually hurt Haiti, and yet after this earthquake, all these corporations seen an opportunity and they went into Haiti and they took advantage of the people. And so finally the people are waking up and they're having enough. And that's what's going on. It's not just about Venezuela, as the news is trying to, Venezuela deal, as the news is trying to paint the picture. It's not just about a Venezuela deal. It's about a deal with foreign aid, period. So I'm just going to conclude this video by saying we have to start calling out these relationships. We have to start calling out the idea that we can gain independence from being dependent. You will never gain independence from being dependent. If you have to ask for someone to give you something, you're always going to be asking. And just notice, again, when it comes to these foreign aid, it's never about building the type of industries inside of these countries that's actually going to allow them to be independent. Because, if they were actually trying to train entrepreneurs, they were trying to train people to be trained in their own skills. For example, one big issue when it comes to countries like countries in Africa, there's a lot of natural goods there. There's a lot of raw goods there, but the people have not been taught and trained to actually take control of their own industries. So if anyone was trying to actually aid the people, they'd be teaching them, this is how you run a gold mine. This is how the bamboo inside of Africa is so rich, and a lot of people like building with bamboo outside of Africa, but the people actually realized that this was actually a natural resource that could be used to actually catapult your housing industry. But no one is teaching them how to do these things. So if that's the type of aid you're talking about, then you have a better argument. But I would still question any motives of any outside entity, because people are always self-motivated and do not do things for others. So we should always question that. I would be more comfortable with the arrangement of Africans from the diaspora going back to the continent and teaching these trades. Those of us who have been trained and have had the luxury of actually learning certain things, we could go back and actually help aid our continent, our homeland, and actually learning how to do certain things based off of what we have learned, rather than having a foreign entity come into the continent that has no link to the continent, that has no reason to want the people to do better. So we always have to question the dependence situation and why it is that they're trying to teach you how, they're trying to give you fish, but they're not trying to teach you how to fish. And so just remember, it's intentionally like that. They don't want you to learn how to fish. They don't want you to learn how to be independent. And until you understand that and actually refuse foreign aid from everyone, China, the United States, everyone, and actually focus on what it takes to actually develop your country in such a way without the help of anyone else, then you're going in your nation, black nations, as without the help of outside interferers, that we're always going to be in this position that we are in of begging. And then once things go wrong, once politicians get paid, once these corrupt politicians have luxury vacations on the money that they said was for you to give you food or something, then you see what happens with what was supposed to help you. It was actually used to enslave you. It was actually used to keep taking from you and to put you in these situations where you're not able to fully control your own destiny. So that's all I have about this, and I will see you all in another video.